the back end of 1998, Sega launched the Dreamcast in Japan to a markedly excited response. Following the Saturn finally gaining them a significant foothold in their home market, demand for the new system was such that the company literally couldn't make them fast enough. Although only 4 games were available at release, consumers still bought droves of hardware in anticipation of a certain game that had been announced earlier in the year. A new entry in a franchise that, while having stagnated over the past few years, was still very much viewed in high esteem as one of the most iconic and beloved series in the world. Finally, on the 23rd of December, it was ready to hit store shelves. And just under a month after the Dreamcast's launch, the few Japanese gamers lucky enough to get their hands on the game were already staring in awe at what they saw in front of their eyes. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as good luck without the bad, and the rest had to make do with Sonic Adventure. 9 months later, Sega was ready to launch the Dreamcast in the North American market, and not wanting to repeat the mistakes they made launching the Saturn in the region, they had gone all out, not only promoting the system and stockpiling a large selection of launch titles, but also planning a set release date on the 9th of September, dubbed 9/9/99 for 199. The market's response was very positive, as Dreamcasts flew off the shelves along with one or more of the system's plethora of launch titles. While NFL 2K and Soul Calibur were popular choices, no game that day was in more demand than Sonic Adventure. So, what's the deal with Sonic Adventure, anyways? What fueled such high expectations? Well, a number of things, in fact. Chief among these reasons was that during the Sega Saturn's reign of terror, not a single Sonic game capable of picking up the gauntlet thrown down during the 16-bit era came out. Sonic 3D Blast is arguably an underappreciated title nowadays, but no amount of charm could mask the fact that it was still just an enhanced Genesis game at its core. Sonic Jam featured a 3D overworld, but it was still primarily a celebration of the classic Sonic titles, similar to how Namco Museum operated. We don't talk about Sonic R. Clearly, however, the wait for Sonic Adventure paid off, as it went to become the system's best-selling title by far, with total sales of 2.5 million, more than double that of the runner-up. However, the game was far from perfect. Many took particular issue with the camera controls, as the camera would often get stuck on scenery or clip into walls. Despite issues like this, the end product was still great, with creative level design, interesting story, and the fast-paced gameplay the series was known for, marking a return to form for Sonic. Unfortunately, this success still ultimately proved to be futile, as the system's momentum was quickly killed off by the announcement of Sony's PlayStation 2, and sales plateaued shortly thereafter. Despite the success of games like Jet Set Radio, Metropolis Street Racer, Shenmue, and even a sequel to Sonic Adventure, hardware sales simply couldn't regain their prior momentum, and after March of 2001, Sega had left the console business for good. However, the bad news ended there, as now not only were Sega effectively able to produce games for 3 times as many consoles, but their vast back catalog of games was ready and primed for release on newer hardware. One of these titles was a certain Sonic Adventure, re-released on the Nintendo GameCube in 2004 as Sonic Adventure DX, a decade after the height of the two companies' feud during the 16-bit era. The new name inspires confidence, as while Sonic Adventure was without a doubt a very solid game, the 5-year period since had not only failed to help the inherent design flaws, but had also shone a light on the poor voice acting and ghastly facial animations. However, with a new name, new strategy, and new platform, surely Sonic Team was able to rectify these issues and more. They didn't. Sonic Adventure DX is a game that doesn't do anything wrong per se, but any improvements over the original are often few and far between, and even when present usually come with an asterisk attached. For one, the collision just feels off at points. The original Sonic Adventure used a fairly simple collision model due to hardware limitations. When porting it to the GameCube, however, it seems Sonic Team opted to completely rework the collision in more obstacle-heavy sections of levels. This, however, proves to be a double-edged sword, as I couldn't help but feel that I clipped through solid objects, or got stuck in areas I wasn't supposed to go in far more often than in the original game. Another gripe I have here is the character models. Sonic Adventure DX uses the same character models as Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, another Dreamcast title re-released on the GameCube. However, they aren't implemented that well here for a plethora of reasons. First, they don't fit in all that well with the levels. Look at the level design, the textures, and then plop these relatively sleek designs in here. It's admittedly a non-issue a lot of the time, but there still are plenty of times it just looks wrong. The other big problem here is the animations. Just looking at them hurts my jaw. You'd think that in a so-called director's cut of a game, they'd have tried to improve these, but the end result is only marginally easier on the eyes at best. However, despite all these problems, I am happy to say that there are some things this game did do objectively better than its predecessor. For one, the entire game now runs at a crisp 60 frames per second, reducing input delay and overall giving a smoother viewing experience for the most part. Along with this, the emblems you collect for completing levels now actually serve a purpose here other than just being digital trophies. Collecting a certain number of emblems unlocks bonus content in the form of being able to play the Game Gear Sonic titles. While these are all undoubtedly incredibly dated now, even more so than the game's facial animations, I still find it really cool when developers hide this sort of content in games. But enough talking about Sonic Adventure, as officially licensed by the NFL, let's actually get to playing it.